Welcome to Roughing It with Ruth, the channel where everything is a bit rough around the edges. I can't believe I'm finally making this video. This Tarp Tent is probably the most ambitious DIY project that I've attempted, and it's taken me quite a long time to complete it. If you don't want to watch the entire process, then this is the finished product viewed from the outside with the door closed, and viewed from the inside with the door half open. When I decided that I wanted to make a tent, I went out and I bought some painter's plastic. It's pretty much the same size as the fabric that I was going to be using, and I just wanted to play around with it and see what sort of shapes worked and what didn't. I pretty quickly realized that I was terrible at pitching tarps. I've only ever used freestanding tents before, so my initial experiments were kind of hilarious. Yeah, when your infant son can't even sit up in the tent, you fail. So after my ego and ambition had been taken down like 5,000 notches, I decided to instead try some scale models using paper because, I'm actually good at origami and I need a confidence boost. This is the design that I came up with by using my scale models. It's all one piece of fabric. By some kind of a miracle, my scale model did translate to the full-size version. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with the plastic flaps on the ground, but in the end I decided to cut them off and jigsaw them back together to make a door for the front. Jigsaw as in cut them up into puzzle pieces and stick them back together again. I quite like this idea actually. The extra flap of plastic was pretty versatile, and I felt like it added to the weather protection considerably. I have to say that if you're looking for a really budget option or an emergency shelter, taking some of this painter's plastic with you is actually not a bad idea. You can drive the tent pegs straight through it into the ground, and it works really well as a shelter. It's not very durable though, so after a couple of uses, it's probably going to be completely destroyed. Which is why I decided to make my tent out of a waterproof material called Poly Oxford. I unfortunately can't sew to save my life, but my wonderful mother-in-law did all of the sewing, which was a huge amount of work. Thank you so much, Elsa. Here's a picture of the jigsaw puzzle door. I just cut the two pieces of fabric that would have been lying on the ground on the edges of the tent and stuck them back together again until I had the shape of a door. My awesome mother-in-law also sewed some extra fabric onto all of the tie-out points for reinforcement. It's probably because of my terrible tarp pitching skills, but I was really struggling to get a taut pitch, so I ended up doing some hand sewing and creating some kind of jury-rigged catenary cuts in the edges of the tent to try and help pull the excess fabric tight. I also hand sewed on an extra piece of fabric to tie the middle of the door to the bottom of the hiking pole for a little bit of extra security. The door doesn't quite span the entire opening, so the edge is attached with a guy line to the one tie-out point. The short side of the door can be opened or closed with Velcro. I quite like the versatility of this setup. You can have the door completely open like this, provided you have a couple of clothes pegs to hold the door in place, or you can have it only half closed, or with the one flap attached to the guy line, or completely shut if there's bad weather. In fact, because it's just one giant piece of material with an extra flap of material as the door, your imagination is the limiting factor when setting up this tent. You can do all kinds of weird and wonderful things. I also added some reflective guy lines to the tent because they look pretty cool in flash photography. Okay, so I know I'm making this tent sound awesome, but honestly it's not very livable. The only place where you can really sit up is right by the tent pole. And although I've only spent one night in this tent in my own backyard, I was already getting pretty irritated with the fact that even a moderate wind pushed the side wall of the tent against my face when I was sleeping. Making it was super fun though, and I am very keen to do another one. If you have any tips or ideas or criticisms for how I did it, then please leave me a comment and don't forget to subscribe to my channel to see more.